Okay, Shizzy is not natural. For anyone who's unfamiliar, this is what this absolute muscle maniac of a man looks like. An incredibly sick physique in my opinion. Very impressive. Utterly insane muscle development. Taller individual. A unique look. Obviously quite arm dominant, so I'm going to be a fan of that. And on his profile here, he claims natural. And there's been quite a bit of a debate back and forth. Some people in the online fitness community, Greg Doucette for one.
Shizzy, the guy is not natural.
So let's get into it. In the beginning, this is what his physique looked like. Obviously, he's got incredible top tier level genetics, and he's working out hard and consistently for many years. I'll put a link in the description to a podcast that I listen to where he's talking about how he's been lifting for many, many years. So he's kind of consistently been at it, been living the lifestyle. And if you look at his early posts back from 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, you can see he's posting here and there. He appears to be consistent with training, although we don't know for sure, but this is what he's claimed himself as well. And this to me looks like a well-developed natural physique from somebody that has really top-tier genetics. An incredible build. Maybe not by today's standards because it's all skewed from PEDs, but within the natural realm, this is an incredible physique. However, I would say he probably is getting close-ish to his natural genetic limit, and around the end of the summer of 2022, we can see here that he posts his weight at 211. So he's like 6'3", 6'4", 211. I think he's completely natural still at this point. Been training for many years, great genetics, great physique. Maybe he's taken something already, but I could believe that he's natural. And around that time, you can see his build here. He's quite lean at 211, you know? He's not absolutely peeled, ready to get on stage, but he's probably somewhere around 10% body fat, maybe less, somewhere around there. You can see in these videos, he's got a great freaking build, long arms, great arm development, good chest, good delts, you know, an amazing physique at 211 pounds on August 12th, okay? Now we fast forward a little bit to 3 months in the future, November 10th, 236.6. So that's 25 pounds of tissue gained. What does he look like though? Maybe he just went on a bulk and he gained a lot of fat. If we look at the pictures from around this time, you can see that he's still got pretty good ab definition. And considering he wasn't absolutely peeled before, and he still has mostly visible abs, the 25 pounds of weight gain that he's publicly posting here, the majority of it's probably muscle. And anybody who's trained as a natural lifter for an extended period of time to gain, so it's 25 pounds, let's say, I think at the very least, judging on these pictures, trying to estimate the body fat percentage change, he's gained some fat. I'm saying at least 15 pounds of that is muscle. So gaining 15 pounds of muscle in 3 months. Anybody who's been committed to lifting as a natural for many years, and in this guy's case, at least 6 years, to gain 5 pounds a month, 3 months in a row is like unfathomable. For me, if I can consistently gain 1 to 2 pounds a month, that's insane progress. And oftentimes, you know, several months will go by where I don't gain an ounce of a pound. So to be doing 5 pounds a month, gaining 15 pounds of muscle in 3 months, bare minimum, it could be more, I think that's a safe estimate, is like insane progress. And I'm immediately kind of skeptical, going, what is this? Not that just because you make gains means you're on roids, but what is the rate of progress is what we need to look at. And that's really, really unrealistic. I think also if you look at his face at this time, it kind of looks different. Like, I don't know, maybe just because he's carrying a little more weight or water or something. Anyways, let's continue on forward. We're not done our examination. December 14th of 2022, we got some images here. He's looking even more insane. Like, okay. If we compare this back to the shots, you know, at the end of August, 4 months prior, he looks drastically different. And again, transformations can happen. And he's clearly bulking a little bit, like he's gaining a little bit of fat, but you can see here, man, his abs are still not much fat gain, man. The majority of it looks like muscle to me. So we've got another weigh-in coming though, January 11th, 2023. 249.4. So August 12th, we were 211. January 11th, we're 249. That is 5 months gaining 40 pounds of body weight in 5 months. After already being an experienced lifter for many years. What does he look like though? Maybe he just gained a bunch of fat. Well, if we look at the pictures from around this time where he's saying, you know, he's 249, you can see this shot here where he's flexing the abs like, I don't know, man. 40 pounds gained. His abs are still visible. There's a little bit more like fluff kind of right at the bottom. He's got a vein in his lat. You gotta still be pretty lean to have lat veins. That's a freaking thing even. I don't think I've ever had a vein in my lat. You be the judge. 40 pounds of body weight. You know, you can see the before and after. To, you know, try to look for yourself. What do you think? How much of this do you think is fat versus muscle? To me, I would think 10 pounds of fat maybe? Like he was pretty freaking, let's go back and look in the beginning, you know, end of August there when he was quite lean. What did his build look like in these videos? You know, it's like he's lean, but he's not absolutely shredded, but he's a bit leaner, right? He's not going from like depleted, absolutely peeled, like 7-8% body fat. He's going from like got a defined six pack, but still looking full, you know, not looking absolutely insanely shredded, to still visible abs, clearly a bit more fluff, kind of a little bit of fluff right down on that bottom of the belly area where stubborn belly fat tends to hang out. So I think, you know, that he probably, my estimate would be, I think a safe estimate is that 30 pounds of that's muscle, 10 pounds of that is fat. It doesn't look to me like he gained a ton of fat. Like clearly he's like in a caloric surplus, gaining muscle mass, but like definitely a lean bulk, still has abs. Anyways, you can be the judge. So 5 months, my estimate is 30 pounds of muscle gained in 5 months. Again, like even as a newbie lifter, when it's the easiest to make gains, somebody who has tremendous genetics and, you know, hires a coach and does all the right things, has never lifted before, to gain 30 pounds of muscle in 5 months would still be like out of this world insane progress. And again, the key point I want you guys to think about is like, if you're a more experienced lifter, you know, it just slows right down. After like year 1, you gain 10 pounds of muscle, maybe 15. The next year you might gain another 5. The year after that, it just goes down to a slow drip. And for me personally, like I just had to keep doing more and more extreme things. And in this past year, I think I gained about 5 pounds of muscle, which I was extremely happy with. Training like insane, doing everything in my power to carve out an additional 5 pounds of muscle in a year after being an advanced experienced lifter. That's just my experience. Everybody's different. This guy's maybe got better genetics than me. But 30 pounds of muscle in 5 months after already lifting for 7 years should, you know, I think to me, I'm immediately like, this, you're just on a cycle, man. Like I don't, otherwise you gotta say something. You gotta be like, you gotta give me a reason why. It needs to be something concrete. Then we fast forward to March, you got this picture. You know, he's starting to look like an absolute freaking manimal gorilla at this point. Move forward a little bit more to November of 2023. So like fast forward another 9 months and he's like unrecognizable. To me, his face looks completely different. Like, I don't know what's going on. Apparently like test face is a thing. Again, I'm not in the world of PEDs, so I'm not really commenting on that. We're just talking about the trajectory. And then we finish with this image here where he literally looks like a freaking gorilla. December of 2023, which I would say is a year and 2 or 3 months from when he first decided to hop on and not be natural anymore. And an utterly incredible physique, even if you're not natural, regardless. But if you look at this picture and then where he started at, or where he was at, you know, where I think he was kind of at his like natural potential-ish, could probably have added slowly, you know, a couple pounds a year or something, but like he's kind of close to his natural potential. And then, you know, an additional 30 pounds of muscle added on in a very short time span, and then claiming natural. So for you to decide, but I just thought that was interesting because this is somebody I've followed because, you know, he's arm dominant and he's taller. I'm a taller person. I just liked his physique, and I was like, this is inspiring. And like maybe, and he goes so hard, like on my mom, I'm natural. So it's like, maybe he's natural. But then when you look at this, I'm like, dude, there's just no way. There's just no way. Like that time, again, the thing to focus on, I think, is the time period of muscle gain, right? Like if there was more of a timeline that made sense and it was like a slow progression, I'd be like, yeah, maybe you're just a freak. Maybe you're just 1 in 100 million genetic outlier. Like it's possible. But if you look at that timeline, the way his face changed, the fact that he added so much tissue without really putting on much fat, again, for you to decide. And then the last part I thought I would finish with, he made this post from his show recently, and he just won this natural bodybuilding competition. He's looking a bit smaller here for sure. Maybe it's because he's really lean, but could be, you know, some change in compounds in the body. I don't really know. But regardless, if you look into the comments, this is what spurred me to do this. There's some pretty funny stuff because the last picture here is the picture of what's supposed to be a drug test, you know, for a natural bodybuilding show. So you're thinking it's like bodybuilding drugs. But if you look, I was looking through, I zoomed in, I was like, these are all like hard drugs, like fentanyl and opiates, marijuana. Like they're not like testosterone or steroids. And somebody comments that, just being like, bro, you posted a picture of a what's he say, bro, you posted a drug test. That's not a steroids test. That just proves you don't smoke weed or do fentanyl. So that's what I was thinking. I was like, unless some of these like big words are actual PEDs that I just have never heard of. And if you look at the replies, people are like going to bat for Shizzy and like defending him still. Like cry louder, blah, blah, blah. So then this guy's coming, he says like, nah, I've done this show. It's a PED drug test, bro. And he's just got, this is like what elite genetics look like. Elite genetics do exist. Brother, it's most definitely a PED tested show. If you've ever been to it, you should know people with exceptional genetics do exist. And what this just showed for me was like, that's kind of what I believed. And I was like, there's no way somebody's just gonna, and he's so adamant that he's natural, and he's like directly addressing it and like saying on his mom he's natural. So I always just believed it, and I would have kind of been like this person here. But then, like, I don't know, maybe there's something else to this where he's showing this because he used to have an issue with drugs in the past, like when he was way younger. And so he just wants to show that he's clean. But when you're talking about a natural bodybuilding show and then posting that you just haven't done like recreational drugs, it's like a little confusing. And it just made me think like, is it that it's just like people are this dumb that like I can post it? And like people are defending him in the comments. And then there's other people that are like, yeah, like zoom in and see what it is. Like it has nothing to do with steroids. But like people are just blindly like, you're natural, man. Like you're just coping. Like, you know? And the point that I want to finish with on this topic is that to me, it's like maybe in his mind, it's like all his trajectory of his journey is on Instagram. And like, there's a lot of people that are believing he's natural. And it's like, it's just sitting right there. Like I laid it out for you. And I think most people who are lifting into the gym are going to come to the same conclusion. It's like, there's no freaking way on planet Earth that that's a natural transformation. But it's just sitting there. Nobody, like, if you go back to his original posts, there's like still a couple hundred likes on them and stuff. And like no comments. He's got like millions of followers. Nobody bothers to scroll back to the beginning of his Instagram and look. So he's like, look at that. People believe it. I'll just post these drug tests. People think I don't know. I don't really know. The whole thing is crazy, but it just made me want to put it out there. At the end of the day, it's possible, I guess, somehow. My brain can't understand how it's possible that he's natural, but I don't know for a fact. I'm not in his head. I'm not watching him every day. I don't know this person. Like, I can't say with absolute 100% uncertainty that he is, or certainty that he is not natural, but I think it's like 99.9% chance he's not based on what I'm seeing. Yeah, so you can decide for yourself, and I think it's ultimately the information available for you to decide. I just wanted to show that to you and document the pictures and the weight gain and the time span and the change in weight versus apparent body fat gain, and you can decide for yourself if that's something you think is naturally possible. I personally don't think it is. Moving on to Jeff Nippard, the incident with him and Mike Van Wyck, which I made a video on, which some of you enjoyed and some of you hated. And first things first, my thought was like, I'm not gonna make a video and just state the obvious, like everyone else has already. There's no point, there's no need for it. The obvious is that Mike Van Wyck is clearly unstable and clearly in the wrong. And to physically assault somebody based on a disagreement through the internet about training styles is absurd and insane. And there's absolutely no place for it. I kind of briefly mentioned that in the beginning of the video. To me, it's just obvious. Like, we don't need to go over that again and again. And thank God that Jeff is safe. And, he just had some little bruises on his throat and no physical damage was done. And I feel bad for him. He doesn't deserve that at all. All right? What's funny, though, in that video, if you haven't watched it, I'll link it in the description. I'm kind of saying, like, if we just pull out of this situation, it actually represents this larger disagreement between the bro science camp and the science camp. And this altercation, although, I'm not really speaking on the altercation specifically, I'm just saying, like, at the end of the day, like, this is a lesson in the title. It's a lesson we can learn from this. And what I thought it was is that there's reasons both groups are at odds. And if you can't see that, then you're binded to one group or the other. You're blinding yourself because you're part of a tribe. And you're not able to see the other person's side. And then you're going to limit your ability to grow. If you can't step out and see there's value in what the bro science people are saying, simultaneously there's value in what the science people are saying. And what's so freaking, some of you got it. And we're like, this is an interesting point. I'm like, great, you don't have to agree with me. But entertain the idea and the thought. And the main pushback from these comments here that you can see is that people are fixating on this idea that I supposedly saying Jeff is condescending or pretentious, which I didn't even directly say. I said that in a lot of instances, the science-based community comes off as condescending or pretentious to the bro science lifters, even if you don't mean to, even if it's not intended. And I'm defending Jeff, saying, like, people who defend him, they can't fathom why anybody would oppose him, right? And I agree. It's like, why? Like, he's very reasonable. He doesn't appear to be pretentious or condescending. He's just sharing the facts and being reasonable about it and, prescribing to science. That's what he believes in. How could anybody hate and oppose this person? And what I'm saying is if that's where you're stuck, which I keep seeing people be stuck there, then you're not interested in understanding why people oppose him, because you're just focused on why he's so great and so right. And you're kind of just in his cult of what you're sipping the sauce, which is, it's a good sauce to sip. He's a good dude. He's doing science. He's educating people. It's not like a huge problem. But if you can't understand why other people oppose him, and you see my video and you can't see the bigger point, you can't stop and step out of your allegiance to the Jeff Nippard cult for a second to try to get the bigger picture, then you're ironically doing the exact thing that I'm trying to tell you not to do, because it's going to limit your growth. That's why I thought I would follow up. So it's like, literally, this is showing you that it's difficult to divorce yourself and pull out of staying kind of fixed within one belief system. And that's ultimately, not even just in the gym, what's going to hold you back from growing. And the ability to step back and go, okay, I completely agree with Jeff. And it's so ridiculous that he got assaulted, agreed. And it's so crazy that anybody would even push back on him at all. Disagreed, in my opinion, the second part. And I can't understand why anybody would ever resist or push back or not be a fan of Jeff? Well, here's why. There's obviously a reason. There's a lot of people that don't fully agree with his position and his stance. Do you want to understand? No, you don't. Because you're just getting fixated on, I said pretentious and condescending. And it's so funny. Every person that's leaving a comment, kind of pushing back, it's all the same thing. It's all the exact, which is just one little part of the video, which is like interesting. It's like you're missing the bigger point, which is what happens anytime in any debate, whether it's fitness, whether it's politics, Democrats versus Republicans. It always gets twisted because people are emotionally attached to a certain position. In this case, you're emotionally attached to being a fan of Jeff and being in support of his position within this conflict and within the greater fitness context. So as soon as I said something about people in academia and science-based arenas in general, in my experience, what I've noticed, have a tendency to be pretentious and condescending, even if on the outside it doesn't seem that way. And I'm not saying every single person is like that. And I'm not saying that Jeff is like that. He could, I don't know him personally. And I wouldn't say there's anything overly in his content that would be like, for sure, he's pretentious, condescending. But I also know a lot of people in academia that on the surface appear as if they're just behind this objective truth of science. But then if you see the inner workings of what's going on, the personal human aspect of it, you realize that they are not doing it 100% objectively. And so that's the point I was making, is that aggravates and frustrates in this context the kind of bro science-based lifters who see their personal experience and their reality to be so misaligned with what's being suggested through the science. Like, I've lived it, that this is more of the truth with training. It's really not that complicated. You guys are hyper-emphasizing all these details and things that I don't think are actually that important. This is the kind of tone of this group. And so you're kind of misrepresenting the process based on my reality. And this kind of bro science lifter category that Mike Van Wyck, I believe, is in, some people get insecure and feel threatened by the science-based lifters and feel as if they're being pretentious and condescending, even if they aren't. Even if they aren't. In this case, Jeff is not. Let's stay under that assumption. Jeff was triggering Mike's insecurity and making him feel less than. And he didn't like that Jeff was using knowledge to discredit and push down Mike's approach with training. Because Jeff is clearly smart. And if you listen to Mike's videos, he's like, why are you so smart and you think you know everything, yet you're not Jack? It's like, it's so obvious that that's what's triggered him. And it's an emotional thing where he clearly doesn't know how to control himself and he ends up lashing out. Step out of this and go, okay, obviously that's a fucked up situation. It should never have happened. The reason these two groups clash, that's what this represents, is because of this difference and if you're just stuck in one side or the other, you can't see the other person's point. You're going to limit your own ability to grow. And in these comments, these people are illustrating that you don't have to agree with me, but you're showing that you can't even hear the argument and you're going to miss on the benefit to grow. Whereas those of you who are open to it, even if you disagree, you at least give yourself the chance to see both sides and potentially pull value from both sides, which is going to prioritize your ability to grow. And the tendency is to want to be part of a group. And in this case, the Jeff Nippard cult versus the bro science roid monkeys. And that feels better. And it makes sense in your mind. And now we have an enemy. And somebody who makes a critical video where I'm giving this nuanced kind of step-by-step analysis of a way to look at this where, there's a bigger picture where I think you can benefit from this lesson. You just fixate on this one freaking word, this one sentence, because you're emotionally attached to the group. It's like a burn. And that's what it's going to be. It's not going to change. Because, as I said, it's difficult to not do that and to not have that tendency. But ultimately, if you want to prioritize results, then you should resist. But a lot of people aren't, because it's hard. And it's easier to just be a part of a cult or a group or whatever and not see the other side at all. And not be able to step, even if you feel so strongly, in this case, Mike Van Wyck is so wrong, and I'm so upset, I'm such a fan of Jeff, and I'm really mad. It's like, that's fair. Jeff seems to be a great guy, and Mike Van Wyck was totally in the wrong. You're so cemented in that you can't even entertain an external analysis of it that doesn't just rigidly fit within those guidelines, no matter what. And so even the slight mention and you're conflating. I should have made it more clear that I'm not saying for sure Jeff is condescending and pretentious. Okay, I'm saying that there's a trend within that space based on what I've seen for a lot of people to be that way. Okay, but that doesn't mean all of them are. And another layer, regardless, it gets perceived as being pretentious and condescending even if they don't mean to, which is what I said in the initial video. Jeff's case, he's not doing anything wrong. He's just promoting a science. But you don't understand how that's going to feel for people on the other side. And that doesn't mean that they're right, but if you want to understand why somebody might oppose Jeff in a civil way, which is the more constructive conversation, the Mike Van Wyck thing is like messed up. That's not the way to oppose somebody you disagree with. But somebody who disagrees with Jeff's stance in a civil way and gives pushback, if you want to actually understand why, then you got to step out of your emotional attachment to that current group and then see the value in the other side. And then to benefit yourself, to grow, you're able to step back and pull information from different parts and think for yourself independently instead of just adhering to one group and opposing the other. That's the whole point, all right? And those comments are perfect because it shows you exactly how a lot of people think and react. And even it's ironic, even in that exact conversation, those people could not even digest the message. Because I triggered their allegiances with one group already, which is what happens in politics, what happens in dating scenario, whatever. That's freaking life, man. So you resist that urge and you'll be better for it. Last thing is that I am now taking some testosterone boosting supplements. And as we can see here, I think I'm looking juicier than I ever had. I started taking Tomcat Ali, 400 milligrams a day for the last week. I know that's really early on. Maybe it's just placebo and I just had a good workout. I don't know, but I feel bigger already. And now I'm going to take Alpha. No, what am I saying? I'm going to take Sigma is the product by Gorilla Mind, which is a combination of Tomcat Ali and a bunch of other herbs and things. And through this research, looking into doing TRT and getting my blood work done and looking at what to expect. And I kind of stumbled into some of these natural ways to boost your testosterone. And so I think I'm going to go that route for the time being and not do TRT. And it's hard to say, but I think I've came to the conclusion that testosterone, to me, is just, I want to convince myself to do it. Like a big part of me, like, what? But I can't. It's just not right, man. I want to just, let's just do it, man. Play the game. You know, a lot of people are on it. A lot of people are lying about it, making content, and just do it, dude. Let's just see what your physique can really do. But I just can't get myself to do it. And a large reason is like, I just think about what am I promoting then? You know, like, am I promoting more people to do that? I kind of think that that's what would happen. You know, oh, it's like an educational and here's the way to do it and stuff. But what I've noticed in the fitness space is a lot of people, they just see the result of what they want and then they just want to know, what did you do in a simple form. They don't really want to digest the nuance of it. That isn't, not everyone, but there's a large audience of people like that. They're just like, oh, big arms? Like, what exercise? Okay, cool. It's not like, there almost isn't like an appetite for like a more nuanced understanding of all the factors that lead to it. And so I think if it's like, oh, he looks like that, oh, TRT, okay, I'll do TRT to look like that. And to me, it's like, it's all the rage right now. But I don't know, man. It just seems like, yeah, the short term doesn't appear to be a ton of risks. You know, I think a lot of people's view of it is like, they're viewing it as if it's steroids, which is a totally different thing and has a totally different risk profile. Whereas a low dose of testosterone seem relatively safe for the most part, but you're still taking some risks. And I think it's something that a lot of people in the fitness space are doing, and the average person doesn't know how to differentiate between natural low doses of test and maybe some other stuff, and then full-blown bodybuilder. Full-blown bodybuilder, it's easy to spot. But then there's a lot of people, I think, that are on low doses that are claiming natural that are difficult to spot and that I've been fooled by. And part of the reason I wanted to do this Shizzy natty or not thing and talk about this in general is that through this TRT researching process, I've tried to get an understanding of what should I expect. Like if I'm gonna take this risk, like what should I expect? You know, like what will be the difference? If I do 200 milligrams, which is like TRT plus, that'd be like a heavy TRT dose. As somebody who's a natural lifter, has been training for a really long time, kind of feeling capped or close to, I've got all my habits and my training intensity and all this stuff dialed in from staying natural for many, many freaking years. If I do 200 milligrams a week, like what could I expect? And just from the research I'm doing on Reddit, YouTube, just asking people in real life, here in Florida, man, there's a lot of every freaking TRT clinic's in Florida. It's like, what the hell's going on? There's a lot of people on stuff here. So anyways, it's like, like you'd probably gain, 10 pounds, 15 pounds maybe within 3 to 6 months. You'd have, a fullness and vascularity that you just otherwise would never get staying as a natural. It's not gonna you're gonna kind of plateau out again, but you'll probably gain at least 5 pounds of muscle, maybe up to 15 to 20, depending on if you respond well to it and all these other factors, given that you're training extremely hard, your diet's in check and all this other stuff. And looking at transformations and seeing, and I'm just like, wow, like this is what so many of my like fitness inspirations are doing. Like it just clicked. And I was like, oh, now I see it. I'm not saying everybody's doing it, but a lot of people are. What makes it tricky is there is still genetic outliers. There is 1 in 100 million freaks sprinkled in there that like would need to be enhanced from some way, shape, or form in anybody else's scenario, but they just have that. But I think most of the people that are in the fitness space and have these like really impressive physiques and stuff, but like people, they're claiming natural or it's kind of up in the air. They don't look like a full-blown bodybuilder, but they kind of look superhuman. I think most of them have really good genetics. They're training really freaking hard, and then they're sprinkling in some small doses of tests. That's what I believe now, which was really an eye-opening kind of thing, because it's a lot of, I don't want to call out any more names, like unless it's like I don't want to just start, the Shizzy one to me is just like so egregious. And part of it was personal, because I was like feeling very inspired when he kind of came onto the scene. I was like, I never really seen a physique like this. This is crazy. He's natural. Like, fuck, that's inspirational. I'm following. So, and then looking at his trajectory, I'm like, now I think it's way more likely that you're not natural, and I feel kind of like deceived almost or something. Again, I don't know for sure. It's possible. Like, I'm not trying to toss any shade, but I also think this is just like, you should see the facts. Like people are going to his Instagram to follow, but they don't look at the trajectory of what he's done. And I just feel like you should try to see the whole picture, especially since it's public. But anyways, I just think a lot of people are doing it. And if I did it, I'd have to be honest. And I just think it would end up promoting more people to do it at the end of the day. And that's not what I want to stand for. That's not what I want. That's not the impact I want to have. And somebody like Alex Eubanks, it's funny because I was like thinking about this a lot. And then I see he posts a video and he's like, I'm not natural anymore. And I'm doing TRT plus, which is like kind of what I was looking at. I'm going to be open about it and talk about it. I was like, holy shit, man. And it just made me think a bit more, because he's kind of promoting it. He's got like a discount code with a TRT clinic, and he's like, get your blood work done. So he's like probably got a relationship with them and going to make money off of any customers that he funnels to their business. So he's kind of promoting it. And like his thing is like, I want to be lean and have good energy still. And it's like a lifelong thing I'm doing. It's just like healthy, and it's just for me. It's not for social media. And I just want to feel better at really low body fat percent. And he's 24 years old. His testosterone levels, like, they've kind of jumped all over the place, but he's like up to 900. And then he's down to 300 when he's lean. Like, I don't know. Is that possible? Like, maybe he's already done some shit. Who knows? But either way, like, I don't think you have some like hormonal physiological issue where you actually need TRT. And if you just stay at like a healthy-ish body fat percentage for at least most of the year, and then maybe just shred down and make content and then come back up, that your test levels would be totally fine. That it's not a healthier thing to start injecting yourself. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, but you're not like being truthful about the motivations, in my opinion. A more accurate thing would be like, yeah, I'm under a lot of pressure, and I like have these huge followings, and I feel like my content's not growing or it's falling off, and everybody else is taking stuff, and so I want to compete with these people, so I'm going to take stuff. and I'm just gonna take a bit, try to be as safe as I can with it, but it's mostly to enhance my physique, look more muscular, so I continue to grow my presence online and my businesses and feel better about myself. Like that's a more realistic, I don't know, I'm not in his head, but I think the problem is promoting it as if it's some like better, healthy thing to do is potentially gonna convince more people to do it. To be like, I'm 24 years old and my test levels are totally fine and I've been working out for a long time, and the reason I'm gonna do this is because somebody online is doing it and it's just like a better way to live, and you're shutting off your natural production, your balls are going bye-bye, and you gotta take another drug to bring them back to life or come off of it or whatever. And it's like, if you look at it like big pictures, like all these young guys just are injecting themselves with testosterone to live healthier and have energy. It's like, man, I don't know, dude. There's probably other, like there are people who actually have like really low tests and there's issues going on, sure, but the majority of guys, like, you're probably just fucking unhealthy, man. Like the communal, like societal test levels are like lower and lower, like across decades apparently, compared to like 1950. It's like probably because everybody just sits on their phones all day and doesn't go outside and like exercise and move your body, and like we're all eating junk and staring at screens and just becoming blobs. So is a solution for everyone to just inject us? Like, maybe that's where we're at. Ozempic, inject yourself. Testosterone, inject yourself. That's the reality, you know. It's not what it should be. It is what it is. You look at a lot of things in life, and human behavior, and say it should be like this, but it's not. It's not always what it is. That's not necessarily the reality of what everybody's doing. But yeah, rant aside, I want to try and see what happens with these natural herbs and natural test boosters. And I did my blood work in the beginning, got that, and so we'll do it again and document, and I'll share it with you guys, and you can see like what the effect is of this product. I'll go get it, I'll show it to you. All right, so I first started off just taking Tonkat Ali, which is this, and to save you some time, this company, Nootropics Depot, apparently has the highest quality stuff, because you can buy Tonkat Ali, and depending on what brand you get it from, it may not actually be pure or potent, and you're not going to get the effect. So that's what I've been taking for a week and seemed to notice a difference, but could be placebo, I don't know. Doing more research, looking into all these other natural test boosters and stuff, I came across Sigma by Gorilla Mind, which is what I'm going to be taking, and I'll put a link in the description to this Derek More Plates, More Dates. If you're not familiar, is the guy that started Gorilla Mind, I believe. It's his company. He does a full comprehensive review on all the ingredients, and it's like a kind of overview of like the natural test boosting world, I think. It's like a long ass video. And he kind of sold me, convinced me that I should go for this. There's some concerns about Fedosia agrestis, but the way he outlined it at least made it seem safe enough to try. And you're supposed to cycle on and off of it, which I'm going to do. And so document, see what happens. Maybe it makes a big difference and I can gain some extra muscle, given I'm training every day and pushing my limits as is, sprinkling some of that on top. Maybe I'll really, you know, in an optimistic sense, get a lot of benefit from it. It'll make a substantial difference. And I don't know, I would love to, like, for selfish reasons, I would like to just like take test and like see what happens, but I just feel like it's irresponsible thing to promote at the end of the day. And like, I do think the less like young dudes on test, the better. Like, to each his own. If they're, you know, it's not complete, like, do what you want with your life. But I don't want to be influencing more people to do it just because I'm doing it. And Alex Eubanks, you know, his whole stance, which is fair, is that I'm just living my life. I'm doing this for me. I'm not doing it for you guys. So, you know, I don't care what you think or what effect it has on people. And that's great if you're not making content for your freaking million subscribers. You know, because you're not really doing it just for yourself. You're doing it for content too. You're making content out of it. To me, there's a responsibility that comes with that you don't have to act on, but it would be better to act on. To stop and think, like, what effect is, it's not just about me. I have this huge audience, and I'm not myself. Alex does. What effect are my choices gonna have on them? Because if you want to do that and just in private do that, then I completely agree with that line of thought. It's like, it's my life. It's like, yes, it is. Like, who cares what you think? Like, you say that to like maybe your friends or like your family that disagrees. It's like, you know, I'm not influencing or promoting it to you. It's just what I want to do with myself. Totally agree with that. But once you're influencing and like people are following because they look up to this person or they find them inspiring or they admire their physique, and that has a large effect on what people do. You know, it really does. And so the likelihood of people following being more open to doing testosterone is going to go up. And inherently, maybe that's not bad, but if my thought is if somebody probably wouldn't have taken it for their own desires, but then because somebody they're looking up to and they're influenced by takes it, that pushes them to do it, that's a negative thing. Because in the absence of your presence, this person would not have decided to inject themselves with testosterone and shut off their natural production, which isn't like a small thing. You know, like your balls are going night-night, so far as I can understand, and then you got to take a different drug to keep them alive or to bring them back, and there could be complications from that, and maybe it doesn't work out, and it changes your blood. You're going to get more hematocrit. Some people have to donate blood. Like, it's not just like this perfect seamless thing with zero consequences that, you know, healthy young dudes with normal test levels should be doing to be healthier. You know, there's got to be like a different return that you want. And then you're willing to take on the risks, you know, and that's each individual's personal choice. But anyways, that's my thought on that and where we're at with training. And let me know if you like this longer videos where I talk about multiple different things and ramble on for God knows how long. If you want to do the program, our program, links in the description. As always, I try to give away the majority of the information for free. Training's not really that complicated, but if you need more structure, I'm uploading all my arm workouts there. There's a bunch of video courses. I think it's good value in comparison to other resources that are put out there, and it's based off my lifelong experience training myself. It's experience-based lifting of what I've done and changed and adjusted, and the way that I would train if I was, you know, if I was 18 right when I started out and I could give myself a resource, I was like, that's what I want to develop. I think that's valuable. And that's what the website is. So if you're interested, you can check it out. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one. Peace.